On page 22 of Following Jesus, Nouwen suggests, love your enemies is probably the call that is most central to the whole Christian message. And I think he's right. And it's also one of the very unique aspects of the Christian message. Like Jesus says in Luke 6, everyone loves their friends. No culture on earth lacks the concept of friendship. Perhaps because friendship is not only natural for social creatures like us, but also beneficial. In friendship, we not only offer compassion and service and support and safety, but we receive these things. Don't get me wrong, our love for our friends is, in most cases, genuine, and might even be sacrificial by times. But ultimately, friendship generally is not without reward. But Jesus calls us beyond ourselves, calls us to more than friendship. Jesus calls us to true humility, which is not to think less of ourselves, but rather to be unconcerned with ourselves. When Jesus calls us to love our enemies, he calls us to love those from whom we cannot profit. It's similar to, but a step further than, the call to love the vulnerable and the marginalized. When we show love to the marginalized, they usually can't do us good in return, whether or not they want to. They're not able to. But our enemies don't even want to. Loving our enemies is really the pinnacle of living out humility. But here's what's even more. It's also maybe the pinnacle of our imitation of Jesus. And I think that's what Nouwen is getting at when he says that loving enemies is central to the Christian message. We don't love our enemies as some sort of test of faithfulness to God, although it is a demonstration of our faithfulness. We don't love our enemies because it might slowly turn them into friends, though that is possible. We love our enemies to imitate our Lord, the one who loved his enemies. Us. You and me. We were God's enemies. We weren't just helpless in our sin, we were opposed to God. Romans 5:8 says, God demonstrates his own love for us. While we were still sinners, rebels, you might say, Christ died for us. And so, if we have been so loved by God as to be restored to our King even though we were rebels, how can we do anything but love our enemies? Grace has been extended to us. How can we do anything but offer grace to others? Peace has been made between us and God. How can we do anything but be peacemakers in this angry and fractured world? This is hard. It's easy to say, it's hard to do. This is hard, maybe the hardest thing that God asks us to do. But we are disciples. And a disciple is a student, a follower. A disciple is an imitator. And so let us live today and every day as imitators of our King who loves and forgives rebel hearts.